Everybody, yes, I am at McDonald's again. My name is Michael. This is Hyden Out Loud. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how I look just like Brad Pitt. It's a thing. Deal with it. It is cold and the snow is starting to fall, which is good because we've got cross-country ski lessons for the little guy coming up on Thursday, and then a family ski on Saturday, I think. So we're gonna have a busy week. Cannot wait. Just got a new pair of skis. Did they say pair of skis? Set of skis? I don't know which way that goes. Anyhow. So I have a thing that I say to people when I meet them. I'll meet people that'll say, "You look like someone I know," or "I think we've met before." And back when I lived in Oklahoma, this happened all the time. In Alaska, it doesn't happen obviously near as much. But in Oklahoma, it happened all the time. And part of that was because, the main part of it, was because I am a photographer. I was a professional photographer in Oklahoma. How many weddings have I photographed? Hundreds of weddings. I have no idea what the actual number would be, but hundreds of weddings that I photographed, been the assistant photographer at, whenever I helped my dad and helped Todd, the guy that we had at our studio. So I'd meet people at the mall and they'd walk up to me and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I know you from somewhere." And most of the time it was from a wedding. I'd say, "Well, I'm a photographer. Did I photograph your senior pictures? What school do you go to? Did you go to?" And I mean, this was years into being a photographer, so it's not like these were all high school age kids. Some of these kids are, because I'm old, some of these kids are older. They're adults now, after college, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times it would be that I was a photographer at a wedding, that they were a bridesmaid at, or a groomsman, or a relative. And I like to have fun whenever I was a photographer, photographing these weddings. Had a blast. And so that's usually what would happen, and it would take forever to figure out what wedding. I don't even remember who the bride and grooms are at this point. It wasn't, and they never went anywhere. We just, it must have been from a wedding. Yeah, probably. Johnson's wedding? Yeah, sure, maybe. That kind of thing. So I like to play. Probably too much. So I would come up with this thing that I would say, look, I get it a lot. Someone come up to me at the mall. "Hey, I know you from somewhere." Hey, I get it. I get that a lot. It's that Brad Pitt, Matthew McConaughey thing that I've got going on. People confuse me for it all the time. I totally understand. People would laugh, "Yeah, that must be it." Or, "Oh my gosh, there's no way. That's so funny." And if they pushed, then they were like, "Yeah, I don't know about that." I would say, well, in Benjamin Buttons, I'm one of those characters in Benjamin Buttons. I'm one of his age groups. And it changes, so you could just get to pick. And I'm Brad Pitt. So, to the point where my daughter was going to daycare, preschool, that whole thing kind of worked into one. And God's Little Blessings there in Yukon. Highly recommend it. Back in the day, it was awesome. I hope it still is great, and that they're open, I have no clue. But there was a gatekeeper there. And this lady, I don't remember her name, but this lady would, you'd have to basically sign in to pick up your kid, and then when you dropped your kid off, after she knew you, everything was fine. But you couldn't get back there. She was gonna stop you. And so, first time I dropped Molly off, "I know you from somewhere." So I go into my Brad Pitt spiel, and we laugh. Come to find out, she actually did know who I was. She went to school with my sister. So she went to high school with my sister. Go Putnam City West. Roll Pats Roll. Patriots. So she went to school with my sister. And from there, knew who I was. Once we connected those dots. But what's funny is, she never called me Michael. Not a single day. She always called me Brad. And so Molly was there for a few years, and then fast forward, Molly's probably, I don't know, 4th grade, something like that. I don't remember exactly what grade she was in, but it was several years after her not going to that preschool anymore. Several years after me not talking to the lady that was the gatekeeper. And so I'm at a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, Alfredo's. I think it was Alfredo's. Although that sounds like I always feels like that sounds like a place to get Alfredo sauce, like an Italian place. But Alfredo's, Alfredo's. Now I can't remember the name of it, but it was in Yukon. And so I'm there and I'm leaving, and I hear from the people sitting at the restaurant eating, like all the tables, I'm walking through that area, and I hear this lady goes, "Hey, Brad." And I turn around so fast. I turn around immediately, and I'm looking for whoever said, "Hey, Brad." And I don't really know why I turned around that fast. I tell them, obviously I break into my story, but once I find out who is yelling Brad, I walk over there and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in forever." And she's with, was it 1 or 2 other people? I know at least 1 other person. And so the person that she was with said, "Oh my gosh, he really thinks he's Brad Pitt." And I started laughing, and I was like, well, I mean, he actually called me the other day and said, "Michael, I am very sorry that my celebrity has been such a hindrance and such a problem on your normal everyday life. I hope you will accept my apologies." And I told him, like, "Look, I understand. It's just part of it. There's nothing that I can do about it. I've just been cursed with looking like Brad Pitt." So there you go. There's the story of why I tell people I look like Brad Pitt.